astronauts, welcome back to the Digital Galaxy Podcast. I'm your pilot, Justin.
And I'm your co pilot, Paul. Buckle up because today in episode 41, we're discussing Apple's new child protection features. The information in this episode comes from The Verge, 9 to 5 Mac, and ApplePrivacyLetter.com. So, Justin, what three changes did Apple announce last week when it came to their security features?
So, the first one is a change to Siri. If a user searches for topics related to child sexual abuse, Apple will direct them to resources of reporting it or getting help with an attraction to it. The second is adding parental controls to messaging. The final feature is that it scans your iPhoto collection to find child sexual abuse material.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's break these three features down a little bit here. First of all, the first is kind of not really controversial, and it will be rolling out later this year. When it comes to using Siri to search for certain things, I think that's kind of a no-brainer that they would put that feature on. But let's talk about kind of the other features here about messaging in particular. What are some of the details on that new feature?
So, Apple is introducing a messages feature that is meant to protect children from inappropriate images. If parents opt in, devices with users under 18 will scan incoming and outgoing pictures with an image classifier trained on pornography, looking for sexually explicit content.
hmm Yeah, according to The Verge, quote, Apple says it's not technically limited to nudity, but that a nudity filter is a fair description, end quote. Does the Messages app just delete the picture, or what does it exactly do?
So the classifier detects this content. It obscures the photo in question and asks the user whether they really want to view or send it. Um,
hmm
Imagine being on Reddit and seeing an NSFW tag or spoiler. Reddit asks if you want to reveal the photo. However, there is a little added option parents can enable.
hmm
If a user taps through that warning and they're under 13, messages will be able to notify a parent that they have opened that message.
Wow.
Children will see a caption warning that their parents will receive the notification, and the parents won't see the actual message.
Hmm.
This is
So,
crazy.
so the parents will know that they opened it, but they don't necessarily see, I guess, what was sent.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, the update is coming to accounts, set up as families in iCloud on iOS 15, iPad OS 15, and Mac OS Monterey. The system doesn't report anything to Apple moderators or other parties. So that was, that's kind of interesting. But finally, the biggest news here, I think, is what's going on with iPhoto. Justin, can you fill the crew in on what's happening there?
Yeah, so according to The Verge, the final new feature scans iCloud Photos images to find child sexual abuse material, or CSAM,
Mhm.
and reports it to Apple moderators, who can then pass it on to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or NCMEC. Apple
Mhm.
says it's designed this feature specifically to protect user privacy while finding illegal content.
Yeah. Wow. As we all know, online privacy is a double-edged sword.
Oh, yeah.
We definitely support, the protection of youth and you know, kind of all finding people, or having people pay for those
Yeah.
crimes that they're committing, if you will. What I'm trying to say here. But there's always like a give and take. I'm not saying that these protections are a bad thing. Actually, I support some of them, but many online advocates have already shown grave concern about the privacy issues at stake, which is kind of the big red flag,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Several advocacy groups have signed an open letter and posted it at appleprivacyletter.com if you want to check it out. But Justin, can you explain what issues those groups are most concerned about?
Yeah, so here's some of the main points from the open letter. Quote, while child exploitation is a serious problem, and while there's efforts to combat it are almost unquestionably well intended, Apple's proposal introduces a backdoor that threatens to undermine fundamental privacy protections for all users of Apple products. End quote.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
App.
So yeah,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Apple's also proposed technology works by continuously monitoring photos saved and shared on the user's iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
iPad, or Mac. One system detects if a certain number of objectionable photos is detected in iCloud storage, and it alerts the authorities.
Mm-hmm.
So another notifies a child's parents if iMessages is used to send or receive photos that a machine learning algorithm considers to contain nudity. Because both checks are performed on the user's device, they have the potential to bypass any end to end encryption that would otherwise safeguard the user's privacy.
Right. And I mean, those are some pretty valid concerns. Once you do open up that door where, an algorithm can scan someone's photos or just files or whatever, and sure, they are looking for something that's a serious problem.
Yeah,
Um, but it's like I said, it's a double
it's a
edged sword.
double
You
edged
can
sword for
see
sure.
why they're upset about it, why there are so many groups advocating against these feature changes. Um, so it's kind of hard, you know. I can see, uh, pros and cons on both sides here. So it's gonna see what kind of backlash Apple gets from this, and if other companies like Google per se on Android devices is gonna follow suit.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think it's a good idea on paper, but I
Hmm.
don't know how well it's going to execute. Just because, I mean, again, nobody wants their photos being scanned by Apple, like, period. Even if you
Sure.
have, nothing to hide, but it, it
Right. Yeah.
it's a privacy thing for a lot of people, so I can totally
Hmm.
get why they're on edge about it. But at the same time, the other stuff with child pornography definitely needs to be dampened. Like, there's a
It
lot of it
does.
out
Yeah.
there, and
Hmm.
this sounds like a solid step to combat that.
Hmm.
But I think that'll just about wrap up this episode.
Yep.
Thanks for coming along. Please stick around to hear a message from our sponsor, Anchor.fm. Also, don't forget to follow our channels on Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. You can also find this episode in the written form on our website, digitalgalaxypodcast.com. This episode was created by Clearo, a social media app where you are in charge of your data and community. Check it out at clearo.app. Thanks for coming along, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Digital Galaxy Podcast runs on Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. So let me explain. First of all, it's free. Second, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.